Hello everyone and welcome back. We were discussing the next step to progress in the Spark environment, and obviously, like I mentioned previously, many times that whenever you are planning to work in the Spark environment, or if you want to try anything where the big data comes into the picture, please try DataBricks, because DataBricks is currently the only, I would say, free option that can provide you all the experience that you need to handle the big data workload into your dev environment, or even in your production environment. At least you can test it, because it comes with one node with 15 gig of memory, which is sufficient, I would say. And I'm going to actually show you today. We have today 6.2 million records. Now imagine, and you're going to see the query performance. The data set is not even in the CSV. We are using JSON, and we are just extracting 6.2 million record. And what we'll do in future video, we'll try to increase the volume from 6.2 to 100 million records, to see how one node cluster in the DataBricks execute our queries. So that's something really big that we are discussing. But today, before we start our next step, a couple of things, because like I mentioned, every time we have a node, we have the cluster. And cluster is nothing but it's more like, a combination of machines which are running underneath, and they execute your code in parallel or in distribution fashion. So you can get your response quickly. So if for somehow, if we need a requirement to access it, then how we gonna do it? That's something we're gonna see today. Because most of the time, especially once we are moving our file, the files are coming on our DataBricks nodes. So obviously these files need to be stored somewhere. So we have the storage option available on our driver node as well as on our executor nodes, because we are only working in the development environment. So we only have one node available. So we will see how we can access that node, and how we can move the file, how we can prepare the file at the file system level, instead of getting it from the black box and then using it. The good thing with the DataBricks and all this Spark implementation, it provides you the capability to interact at the file system level. Now there's a challenge for people who doesn't like the command line. They might feel it a bit difficult, but if you have any bash or PowerShell experience previously, it's going to be pretty smooth for you to grab it. But those who doesn't have that experience, for them it's a very I have a very good news, that DataBricks already wrap it in a proper functional way. So you don't need to even know that underneath there are bash commands which are running and doing the job. All you need to call the function, regardless whether it's going to be a cluster operation or it's going to be database operation. So that's how seamless it is. So by saying it, I think let's jump into our development environment, and we'll see how we can manipulate the file information as part of our data preparation. By the way, all the data bricks environments, they are able to connect all the famous cloud providers. So AWS, Azure, and Google cloud provider. I do believe IBM is also now on board. So you can dump your data on any of the data lake implementation in one of these cloud. Obviously, if you are using Azure, you can put it into your blob storage, and you can get the data from your storage account through container, and then the rest of the folder structure. If you are using AWS, you can access it through S3 bucket, and all your data can be easily available to your DataBricks through S3. We just need to do some of the configuration from the access or security perspective, and then guess what, your data will be available smoothly into your DataBricks environment. Obviously, similar pattern apply on the GCP or Google Cloud platform as well. So now let's jump into our dev environment. We are going to do something really interesting today. Let me share my screen. Okay. So like you can see that I'm in my DataBricks environment, and the top import commands, these are standard. If you don't know how to interpret them, please look at my first lecture, where I translate these really scary namespaces into simplest format. They are nothing but more like a reference to the libraries, which has already pre-built, and they have the function and classes available for us to consume to do our work. So let's include them. But the next thing is going to be interesting. We have multiple utilities. Today we are going to look at the dbutil. Because what dbutils does, it provides us the functionality to access the file system of the cloud of the cluster operating system, which is obviously Linux based. So we're gonna see a lot of terminal commands which will work in seamless way. Like, you don't need to change anything. You can really implement your concepts again if you have already experienced. Otherwise, you can use the predefined function coming from DataBricks, which are more like wrappers on these commands, and they will do the job for you. So let me first show you how we can access all the commands, and then we'll go and we'll look one by one. Okay, so let me first write so the command is dbutils. You can, if you have half of the spells, remember, you can just type and you can press Control space, and it will bring the rest of the command automatically, just for your information. So now, whenever you need to access the file system, there is a short command called fs, which is more like referring the underlying file system, which is running under our cluster. So let me just do it. And by the way, let me show it to you. We have plenty of, you can see functions which are available. But at this stage, we are interested in the file system. We're gonna see the rest in the later videos once we move forward with some advanced topic. Okay, now fs obviously have its own functionality. So you can see we have all these. Obviously, it's not a full batch stack because you don't have access to the full bash library, because some of the DataBricks guy, they only expose some of the functionality which they believe can help you to move the data to prepare the data. Rest of the functionality is not provided, because obviously this is more related to the cluster configuration, and they need to make sure only the authentic user they can access, and they're obviously a way that you can use to access them, right? So keep in mind, not every batch command is available. There are limited commands, like we can see at the moment in the list. So what I'm gonna just use the very first famous command, ls. And if you are not aware about ls, I would recommend you to open your PowerShell. Go to your PowerShell and just type ls command and have a look. And then if you still don't understand, type dir and compare both outputs. If you find any difference, just let me know, because ls is more like the bash command, which does exactly the same which dir does. And dir command is actually shows all the contents of the current directory where we are in. So that means ls will show us the directory information that we are where we are currently, or where we want to see. So let me run it. Oh, there is not enough argument. So that means this ls is different from the one which we have in our terminal available. So that means I have to provide some sort of parameter. That's what it is complaining. Let me see. I think that's the. Okay, how about if I just provide slash, right? Because in Linux term and in the Unix environment, slash always refer to the root, and root is more like the starting point where we are starting our folder structure. So now let's run it and see whether it works. Yes, it works. So you can see we are getting all the folder information. So these are the folder which have been which has been created into our file system on our node in the cluster, and we can access this file system and folder. Sorry, we can access this folder and we can look at what's inside, and even if we want, we can move the file across. By the way, on the side note, what we're gonna do, one more thing, if I, okay, yeah, I think we can do it in here. Let's do it in here. Sorry, yeah. Let me create a table, and as soon as you click on create a table, you can see the default directory for DataBricks file system is /filestore/table. However, we can access the DataBricks file system, and you can see it's exactly the same that we have just seen, that it is showing us the file store, and underneath we have the data sets, and then we have the delta, which is referring to the delta lake, share uploads, and obviously we have the table information, right? We have user, and I think there are a couple of them which are not showing in here exactly, like we are unable to see DataBricks datasets, like it is not visible. DataBricks result is not visible, but these ones, like I mentioned, so that's the power of using the scripting instead of using the graphical interface, because obviously both are two different world, and the command line interface always provide you more power, and obviously it comes with more responsibility as well. So that's good. Now as a next step, what we're gonna do, let's see what's inside of the file store, right? Because that's what we are interested. Okay, in file store, we can see we have the data set, and we have just seen it. We have delta folder, we have shared upload, and we have the tables folder, right? And if you just want to map it, you can see it in here. So it is showing these 4 folders. So that's the mapping at the moment you are seeing as a result of executing ls command by providing this path. All right, so let's move on one step further, and we are going to see tables, and you can see the below command. I'm actually doing exactly the same thing. So what I'm going to do, let me copy this and run this now. Now there's a bunch of files which are stored into the table folder, and you can see that's not a good management of keeping your file, because it's not even giving me any idea what file has been stored, and I can see bunch of part underscore blah blah blah. There is some GUID or row ID, and then we have again TID, and then at the end we have extension, right? So that's not a good way to store your file. So and I think at least in here you can see, oh, we have bunch of files which are stored into tables folder, right? And everything is sitting into one location, which is not good. And by the way, we have subfolder as well, and you can see in here, at least we can see subfolder. And if I click in here, you're gonna see it's gonna show me the contents of the subfolder. But in my command line or in my notebook, I'm unable to see. And by the way, this data is this screen is not directly available. We have to go, once we create the table, then it will show us. Maybe I haven't actually used the purchased version yet completely, especially from the exploration perspective. I have used it from a couple of other perspectives, but not for the exploration, that how we can. So I think maybe it's more like a limitation on the community edition, which I highly doubt it. because if I can't see any difference between the community and the professional version, right? So I'll see if later on DataBricks can expose this folder structure into some other interface, maybe under compute, because you know why? Let me just go in here. Yeah, and let me see if I can see in here. We have storage in here. Yeah, it's not showing me the storage. That's the job. Storage is still not coming in. I'm not going to go into deep in here, but that's something, because one of the reason why we are unable to get it as a permanent link in the DataBricks environment. Remember, guys, I mentioned that you get the storage once you have the cluster up and running, and with the DataBricks Community Edition, if you are not using your cluster, for example, by default, it's 120 minutes. After 120 minutes, your cluster is going to be terminated. And now this environment is shared by maybe hundreds and thousands of users across the world. So it might be possible that sometime you spin up your cluster, try to, warm it up, and it didn't warm at all, right? Because maybe the server is overloaded by other requests. So you have to delete it and you have to recreate the cluster, which is obviously based on a single node. And that's a very nice and smart trick to push people towards purchasing the service, because that's a very common model, right? You are using a service, it is working for you, you are liking it, so let's go and purchase for your organization and use the proper environment where you can get all this functionality available. All right. Now coming back to our problem, so we have to move these part files somewhere so we can properly see the structure, or at least a clean structure of our table folder. One thing I haven't actually sorted out yet, which I just identified, because in the ls command, and that's where it's again different. Let's see if I just do this, you're gonna see I'm getting a folder name or file name which is starting from the keyword or the text which I have actually mentioned, and then star represent after this text whatever comes, it's going to actually bring that into the results, right? So whenever you have the if you know a small part of your file name and you want to search it in ls, you can just mention the file name part and then put a star, and it will bring all those files which are starting with that keyword. However, what I have seen in here, so for example, I want to see what's going on with that part file. I want to see the part file, right? So let me see. It's not showing me any file, but I can clearly see I have all these part file which are sitting in here. And then I have tried, because I know they are JSON file. So let me see if I can run JSON, and no, there's nothing in there. Now, if you stuck with these scenarios while you are working with DataBricks, there's a very good command which is available in DataBricks that's going to help you to get out of it, which is dbutils.fs.ls, and then you can type help. Sorry, I think I just need to remove that. Yeah. So what help will do, it will provide you a quick information about that command. So if you need to see the example, or if you want to see the information about some particular command in the DataBricks, you can use help. So let me show it to you how you can use the help. Okay. Yeah. All right. Oh, it's difficult to remember all syntax. Thankfully, I have just put the reminder as a syntax in here. So we need to call the help function, and then we need to provide the command as a parameter. So if I want to see the help on ls, I just need to call the help function of my file system command, And then in the parameter, I need to just pass the command name. So now if I run it, so you're gonna see, okay, that's better. I can see list the content of a directory. So it will bring all the content. So that means the ls is not providing the full functionality which is available in the PowerShell or Bash environment, right? It is providing a limited capability. And then you can see an example has been mentioned in here. And then we can use that example to you know, to implement it into our code. All right. So we have now a challenge. We are unable to find the exact file name, but you know what we can do, and that's where the whole Python, SQL, and Spark shines, because they are good into multiple area, but once we combine them, they really give you a powerful platform that you can use to build any kind of analytics or any kind of, you know, project or solution for your organization or for the community. So now I'm limited, I don't have functionality in ls. So what I did, I actually built a function that is going to actually show me all the files which are available in the in my folder. Right now, remember, the folder is sitting into the DataBricks, but I'm going to now use Python to set up to create a function that will read the file folder information, and that's going to actually show me all the files which are stored within that folder. Okay, so let me just move it in here, and I'm just modifying it because I have, like I mentioned, we have some interesting programming exercise today. So in this one, I'm just only going to show you how I'm extracting the file information. So obviously, I just put the source folder where I'm going to read my file information, and I'm just going to call the ls function, and I'm just, you know, instead of providing a hard code value, I'm just passing a variable where I already stored my file path. And then what it's going to do is going to return me the list of the files which are sitting into that directory. Now, within Python, the beauty is, like, if you have a list, you can traverse on that list using for loop, right? Because we need to, excuse me, we need to traverse and we need to get the list item one by one. So we can easily use for loop for the traversing. So let's have a look. I have just called it, it's another variable, like I'm calling file, and file is not a keyword. I can even, you know, what I can do, I can call it var underscore file, right? And it is sitting in, and let me change the variable completely so it won't be confusing. Var underscore files, right? So now what I'm going to do, now that will work, because now I'm working within the Python environment. So the whole programming of the Python is available for me. I can call any Python function. I can call any Python library. All I need to make sure that library has been included into my cluster. The libraries are available. And if they are available, I'm free to use any command on that. Don't worry if you don't understand the library, how you're going to do it. I'm going to spin up the Python refresher as well, because we're going to use Python with SQL, right? Because most of the stuff, and I would say 95 of the stuff in the data engineering, you can cover with these two skills, right? So don't worry about if you don't understand the programming model much. We're going to cover that as well. Start with, so now I think I'm good. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna so it's a very var underscore file, and it has its all attributes available. I'm interested in name because I want to search based on the name. Now look at the logic I'm building. I know we have plenty of garbage sort of names which are sitting into my directory. I'm gonna just, you know, find those which are starting with the word part, because they will provide me all the information about those files, those JSON files, which are starting with part underscore blah, blah, blah. So we have a function called starts with, and then all we need to provide the starting word, and then it's going to bring it. And by the way, this function returns true if it reads a file and the file name is starting from the keyword that we have provided as a parameter. So that's why I put the if condition, that if the file name is starting with so that's how simple it is. Like, you know, that if you want to extract the file from the list, the file name from the list, which are starting from the word part. So have a look. We provide the variable name dot the property, which is name. Obviously, that is carrying the file name. Dot the function is which is going to work for us is start with. So start with, what it does, it takes the information and it only extracts those. It returns that if the name is starting with the keyword that we have provided, right? So that's what, and that's why I put it in the if condition, because if my file name is starting with part, then this condition is going to be true, and I'm going to see the file name on the screen. If the file name is not starting with part, that's going to be false and we will not see it, right? So that's a perfect combination for us. Now let's run it. Oops, so we have, oh, that's my fault. I have changed the variable name. So it's not file, it's var underscore file. Let's run it again. And you can see how quickly it is that it has display all the file names. And now I can see, okay, these are all the files which are sitting into my table folder. And these obviously doesn't look quite right. You know, it's not a very nice naming convention, but it is what it is. Like, you know, sometimes you are getting these file name, and sometimes even you need to extract the information from the file name to execute your ETL, which is very funny. Like most of the time the requirement is they embed some metadata within the file name, and you need to read that file name and to extract the metadata, and then you do rest of the ETL. So right now we reach to the point where we have extracted the list of file. Now we are good, like we provide the folder name and we can get all the files sitting into that folder name. Now the next step, let's move all these files into another folder where we only have these files sitting there. So at least our file structure is going to be nice and clean, so we can easily deal with them. So I'm gonna see into the next video where we move all these files on the cluster file system level from one folder to another folder, and then we start using it. So stay tuned. If you like the video, please like, or if you have any question, please comment, and I'm more than happy to answer. Otherwise, I'm gonna see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.